The quiet of my house used to be a comfort. It was a silence I shared only with Max, my golden retriever. We had a rhythm, a peaceful routine that made the world outside feel distant. But that all changed last Tuesday. The silence wasn't just broken, it was shattered. It started subtly, as these things often do. I was in the kitchen, making a late-night sandwich, the only sounds being the hum of the refrigerator and Max's gentle snores from the living room. Then I heard it. A whisper. It was so faint, I almost dismissed it as the wind or the house settling. It sounded like my name. Leo. I froze, knife hovering over the bread. I strained my ears, listening. Nothing. Just the familiar hum and the soft breathing of my dog. I shook my head, blaming an overactive imagination fueled by too much coffee. I finished my sandwich and went to the living room. Max was sprawled on his favorite rug, tail thumping softly as I sat on the couch. I turned on the TV, letting the low murmur of a documentary fill the space. But a sense of unease had settled over me, a cold knot in my stomach. I kept glancing towards the dark hallway that led to the bedrooms, as if expecting to see someone standing there. An hour later, as I was getting ready for bed, I heard it again. This time, it was clearer. "Leo?" The voice was low, raspy, and it seemed to come from right behind me. I spun around my heart, hammering against my ribs. The bathroom was empty. The steam from my shower swirled around the bare tiles, but there was no one there. "Who's there?" I called out, my own voice sounding shaky and foreign. The only reply was the drip, drip, drip of the shower faucet. That's when Max started barking. It wasn't his usual playful bark. It was a deep, guttural sound full of aggression. I rushed out of the bathroom to find him at the end of the hallway, hackles raised, staring intently at the closed door of the spare bedroom. He was growling, a low rumble that vibrated through the floorboards. "What is it, boy?" I asked, my hand resting on his back. His fur was bristled, and he wouldn't take his eyes off the door. "I've lived in this house for 5 years. The spare bedroom has always been just that, a room for junk. Old furniture, boxers. I never got around to unpacking. No one ever goes in there." My hand trembled as I reached for the doorknob. It was cold, unnaturally so. I took a deep breath and turned it, pushing the door open. The room was dark, filled with shadows. I flicked the light switch. Nothing happened. The bulb must have burned out. I pulled out my phone, turning on the flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, illuminating dusty boxers and an old armchair covered in a white sheet, looking like a silent ghost in the corner. Nothing seemed out of place. Max, however, was still growling, refusing to step inside. "There's nothing here, buddy," I whispered, trying to convince myself as much as him. Then the voice came again, this time from inside the room. "Get out." It was no longer a whisper. It was a clear, cold command that seemed to echo in the small space. A voice that was both ancient and full of malice. I stumbled back, pulling the door shut so hard the frame rattled. Max barked frantically. My blood ran cold. This wasn't the wind. This wasn't my imagination. There was something in my house. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the living room floor with Max pressed against my side, a baseball bat clutched in my hands. Every creak of the house, every rustle of leaves outside sent a jolt of panic through me. The voice was silent for the rest of the night, but its presence lingered, a heavy, oppressive weight in the air. The next day, I tried to rationalize. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe a neighbor was using some kind of speaker. But how could they know my name? And how could they make the voice sound like it was right next to me? Then inside a closed room, I checked this bedroom again in the daylight. The light switch worked perfectly fine. The room was just as I'd left it, dusty, cluttered, and empty. There were no speakers, no hidden devices, nothing. The day passed in a haze of anxiety. I kept the lights on, even with the sun streaming through the windows. Max stayed close, his usual playful demeanor gone, replaced by a constant, watchful alertness. As evening approached, the dread returned, thicker than before. I considered leaving, going to a hotel, or staying with a friend, but a stubborn part of me refused to be driven out of my own home. This was my space, my sanctuary. The haunting resumed just after midnight. I was in bed, staring at the ceiling, when the whispers started. "Leo, you're not alone." It slithered out from the corners of the room, from the vents, from the shadows. It was everywhere. I covered my ears, but I could still hear it, as if it was inside my own head. "What do you want?" I shouted into the darkness. A low, chilling chuckle was the only response. It seemed to come from the closet. My eyes darted to the closet door, which was slightly ajar. A sliver of absolute blackness was visible. Max, who was sleeping on the floor next to my bed, shot up and began barking ferociously at the closet. "Don't be afraid," the voice whispered, its tone mockingly gentle. "I just want to play." The closet door creaked open slowly, inch by agonizing inch. I was paralyzed, my body refusing to move, my breath caught in my throat. I couldn't see anything in the darkness, but I could feel it. A presence, a cold, malevolent energy pouring out of the closet and filling the room. Max backed away, whining, his tail tucked between his legs. "Stay away from me," I yelled, my voice cracking. "But we're going to be such good friends," the voice crooned. "Forever." Something shifted in the darkness of the closet. A shape. It was tall and gaunt, a silhouette against the deeper black. I couldn't make out any features, just a vague, human-like form that seemed to sway slightly. It took a step forward, out of the closet and into my room. The temperature dropped, and I could see my breath fogging in the air. That's when my survival instinct kicked in. I scrambled out of bed, grabbing Max by the collar, and bolted out of the room. I didn't look back. I ran down the hallway, fumbled with the front door lock, and burst out into the cold night air. We didn't stop running until we were at the end of the street, standing under the halo of a street light. I turned and looked back at my house. All the lights were off, plunging it into darkness. But in the window of my bedroom, I could see a faint, flickering light, and for a split second, I thought I saw a tall, dark figure standing there watching me. I called the police. They came, they searched the house, and they found nothing. No signs of a break-in, no one hiding in the closets. They were polite but skeptical, suggesting I was overtired, or maybe there was a logical explanation. An old house making noises. But I knew what I heard. I knew what I saw. I haven't been back to the house. I'm staying with my sister now. Max is slowly getting back to his old self, but he still startles at loud noises and stays close to my side. Sometimes, late at night, when the house is quiet, I think I can hear it. A faint whisper on the edge of my hearing. "Leo, I don't know what it is or what it wants, but I know it's still there in my house, waiting. And I know I can never go back. My quiet, comfortable home has become a prison for a memory. A place where a voice in the dark waits for my return. It can keep the house. I just want my silence back."